It's 12 noon in Accra, 12 noon in Monrovia, Liberia. Good afternoon to you. This is Midday Live on TV3 with me, Nana Ikia Mensa Brampa. The headlines this afternoon. Three persons arrested at Suhum Aminabo for allegedly possessing dry leaves, suspected to be Indian hemp. Also coming up, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice charge clears Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta of allegations of conflict of interest in the issuance of $2.5 billion bonds. The Coalition of Non-Governmental Organizations in Water and Sanitation (CONIWAS) expressed worry budgetary cuts for Water and Sanitation Ministry in 2018 would affect efforts to keep citizenry healthy. And later, on the foreign front, a new dawn for Liberia as the country awaits first democratic power transfer of power in 70 years after former football star George Weah is elected president. We have the detail of these as well as the latest in sports and entertainment coming up in the next hour. You would stay with us, and let's settle now for the detail. To a very first story for this afternoon. 3 persons have been arrested at Suhum Aminabo for allegedly possessing dry leaves suspected to be Indian hemp. The suspected Indian hemp were packed in 11 mini sacks. Now, police reports indicates the arrest was made on December 28 at about 10 a.m. at Aminabo in the Suhum municipality of the Eastern region. Now, the police, upon a tip-off, went to the house to find the sack of the suspected Indian hemp. After a search, the 3 suspects, David Tete, 43, Samuel Bote, 22, and a 30-year-old Akpeteyo Tete, are in police custody assisting in investigations. Right, and in another story, the Minister for Railways Development, Joe Garte, has announced government will in the first quarter of next year evict all encroachers on railway lands. Now, he denied assertions that the new railway line will not pass through Koforidua.
The move by the Railways Ministry to evict encroachers on their land follows an intended construction of 947-kilometer rail line to link Accra and Kumasi, the Ashanti regional capital. The ministry will also acquire additional land to extend the rail construction to Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso. The sector minister affirms intensive construction of the rail lines will commence early next year, hence the need to clear every impediment. Affected persons will receive no compensation.
The first 3-4 months we are going to clear the right of way. We have to. We don't have a choice because we have to save life and property. People are staying on railway land. We are not going to give compensation because trespassers are not entitled to compensation.
He denied assertions the new rail line will not pass through Koforidua. Joe Garte assured old train stations across the country will be given a facelift to enable existing ones render service to towns, while the new one will serve interregions.
We are not going to leave the old towns out, and especially Koforidua. I've heard that there's some concern in Koforidua. I want to assure them that they are part of the Eastern Line. There is no way we are going to leave Koforidua out. Koforidua is the capital of the Eastern region. Quite apart from that, Koforidua also is a place where a lot of people live and work in Accra. It is important for us to have a commuter service from Koforidua to Accra.
Rail transport is the cheapest mode of commuting globally.
And following TV3's special documentary, The Street Sex, Minister for Railways Development Joe Garte has promised to send TV3's special documentary, that is The Street Sex, to Cabinet for their perusal and further action. On Thursday morning, a delegation from TV3 presented a copy of the documentary to the sector minister.
On December 21, 2017, TV3 premiered an exclusive news documentary about young girls illegally soliciting sex at the Kwame Nkrumah interchange area slum near the railway tracks. The slum also serves as a habitat for some suspected robbers. Immoral activities in the area have increased. Both expectant and nursing mothers engage in prostitution at the slum together with Nigerian nationals. Officers from the Ghana Water and Electricity Company of Ghana are unable to visit the area to demand payment of bills for fear of possible attack. The sex workers confirm officers from the Accra Metropolitan Assembly and the Ghana Railways Company allegedly collect bribes from them to legitimize their stay. On Thursday, a delegation from TV3 presented a copy of an exclusive documentary to the Minister for Railway Development, Joe Garte, for action to be taken. Joe Garte expressed enthusiasm about the expose and said he will engage cabinet to ensure sanity in the area. He indicated the ministry has plans to clear all slums along rail lines in the country.
In mornings this afternoon, the Ghana-Togo Solidarity Movement, a movement formed by Ghanaians to support the fight for freedom for citizens of Togo, is expected to hold another rally on Saturday, December 30, 2017. Convener of the group, Bennet Amoah, and 12 others were on Saturday, December 16, 2017, rounded up by the police for allegedly embarking on an illegal protest. Now, the police had indicated their action was in clear breach of the Public Order Act, hence the arrest. The group, however, said notice had been served earlier of the demonstration and police authorization given, but at the 11th hour, the permit was revoked, as contained in an explanation it issued on Saturday, December 16. According to the Director General of the Public Affairs of the Ghana Police Service, ASP Mr. David Iklu, the 19 were arrested by the Greater Accra Regional Police for unlawful assembly and engaging in acts which are likely to occasion the breach of the peace. Now, Togo's opposition parties have over the past few months been demanding a return to constitutional term limits for the presidency and also for President Faure Gnassingbé's step down. Right, and quite shortly we will be taking you through exactly what that act is talking about. But talking about approval from the police, PRO of the Accra Regional Police Command is on the line. Good afternoon to you, madam, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon.
Now, in relation to the movement and the assembling at Kawukudi, has the police permitted the upcoming rally for December 30 at the park?
Yes, thank you. If I heard you right, we have received a letter from the Ghana-Togo Solidarity Movement and an intended rally that is scheduled for tomorrow, and that is the 30th of December. And the police would want to say that looking at the preparations that have been made by us, the police is going to provide all the security for the rally to be held come tomorrow. So for the security aspect, I can say that, yes, we are prepared to give the group the needed protection for them to embark on this rally.
Now, there were some arrests made a week earlier, that is the Saturday. Some 19 persons were arrested, including Mr. Amoah himself, who is the convener. What charges have been placed and how far with their case as to their gathering at that place when the police had not approved?
Yes, regarding that aspect to that particular incident is still under investigation. We are gathering every information that we need to gather, and such a time that the police believes that we have to proceed to court, we shall do so. But as I speak to you now, I know that that particular incident or case is still under investigation.
Okay, we are grateful for your time. But shortly, that was ASP Efiating, who is the PRO of the Accra Regional Police Command. Let's now move to Mr. Bennet Amoah, who is the convener of the Ghana-Togo Solidarity Movement. He joins us on the phone line. Good afternoon to you, sir, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Anama.
Now, when you take a look at the Public Order Act 1994, I have it here, it allows organizers of any public event or rally to notify the police of special events. We just spoke to the PRO, but we want to find out from you, how many people are you presenting as the police has approved the rally for tomorrow?
Thank you. The public order doesn't require approval from the police. You know that as a fact.
Right.
And so the police have an obligation under the Public Order Act to meet with the organizers so we can strategize on the number of persons, the venue, and any other related matter. Ask the police, since I gave them the letter on the 22nd of this month, notifying them whether there have been any meeting between the organizers and the police. It was not until yesterday when the Minister for National Security had a discussion with me and obviously agreed that, look, the police did not act in good favor the last time and that he was going to speak to the Inspector General of Police, since there was nothing that should stop them or should impede our event tomorrow. And so I had already gotten wind that through the Minister for National Security, Honorable Kandapa, that the police will be informing us. And as we speak, we have not even been spoken to by the police. But I'm happy that eventually the police is beginning to respect itself as an institution and to know that they do not have the power to stop citizens who want to manifest any public event.
Now, Mr. Amoah, in that regard, December 16, after the incident and after your people were rounded up, have you taken any action, or what would be your next line of action as you have presented your case right now?
Right now, we're mobilizing for tomorrow. I can tell you that we are expecting about 2,000 people or more at the Kawukudi Park. Because it's an open-ended invitation to the general public, we may get more or even less. But as I keep insisting, one thing is certain. Even for me alone, I'm sufficient to be able to represent the case of the special conditions of the people of Togo, the maltreatment of our women in Togo, our mothers and sisters, pregnant women that are butchered left, right, and center, and that in modern age, these things should not happen. So tomorrow, I'm happy that we will eventually have the rally to show solidarity and support with the struggling people of Togo. The next stage is that I have instructed my lawyers to take the police to court for their unlawful arrest of persons who had mobilized within the legitimacy of our laws to ensure that we conducted ourselves within a rally. The police rounded us up, they treated us like even animals meant for the zoo will not be treated the way we were treated. And so that matter is on its own. But tomorrow's event is where our concentration is. And I just want to appeal to the rest of our society that those who love freedom, those who love peace, those who want to see that our mothers are not butchered the way they are being butchered in Togo. Tomorrow is an opportunity for us to express strong words and good words so that the international community can come and rapidly help to avert a future or an impending escalation of the situation in Togo.
We are grateful for your time. Bennet Amoah is the convener of the Ghana-Togo movement, that is a solidarity movement. They're speaking with us. But shortly, we would want to find out exactly what the Public Order Act 1994 Act 491 entails. We'll just take you through briefly. And Section 1 of it is stated here: notification to police of special event, and any person who desires to hold any special event within the meaning of this act. That is exactly what is happening with the Ghana-Togo Solidarity Movement. They would have to notify the police of their intention not less than 5 days before the date of the special event. So it means that if it's a Saturday, you would have to do it on a Monday, and the notification shall be written and signed on behalf of the organizers, which the police said they have received. And still there, let's move on to section 2 of that very act, still talking about what process you have to go through to ensure that, well, let's go to 7, section 1, clause 7, still on the Public Order Act. The judge or chairman may make such order as he considers to be reasonably required in the interest of defense, public order, public safety, public health, and the running of essential services, or to prevent violation of the rights and freedoms of other persons. So I'm sure this is where Mr. Mona and his lawyers would want to buttress their points on to ensure that their case, which they would present to courts on their arrest, will be dealt with. And for clause 6, it says that where the organizers refuse to comply with the request under subsection 4 or fail to notify the police officer in accordance with subsection 5, the police officer may apply to any judge or a chairman of the tribunal for an order to prohibit the holding of the special event, which happened on December 16, where they revoked the approval from the coalition and then moved on to arrest the 20 people. So this is exactly what the Public Order Act is talking about. But away from that now and to some other stories, let's look at some other stories this afternoon. Well, and they have been charged the InterMinisterial Committee on Illegal Mining to use their office to monitor effectively all illegal mining activities to strengthen the fight against illegal mining. Commissioning a new secretariat for the committee in Accra, the president reiterated his resolve to see the end of the menace.
The Secretariat, located at the office of the President Annex Cantonment, is expected to be the rallying point of all information and activities to aid the fight against illegal mining.
Amen.
The chairman of the InterMinisterial Committee on Illegal Mining and Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Professor Kwabena Frimpong said the Secretariat will strengthen the effort of the committee in the fight against galamsey.
We are going to set up a very efficient administrative system. There's a desk for all the ministers on the committee. Operation Vanguard will be here. We'll have a call center that will operate 24/7. We have installed a high-speed internet to enable us to connect to the districts. And all the district mining centers will have computer parts. And we expect that every emergency will be reported on time.
President Akufo-Addo charged the Interministerial Committee not to relent on its efforts in dealing with illegal mining.
We're entering a new era in our efforts to formalize the small-scale mining industry so as to achieve sustainable mining with sound environmental practices. In the weeks and months ahead, I expect to see optimal coordination amongst participating ministries and the district mining committees, as well as close interaction with Operation Vanguard, small-scale miners, and the general public. I expect the committee to receive regular reports from mining centers so that illegal activities can be dealt with immediately. With the inauguration of the district committees in some 10 days, an important exercise will be carried out, and that is vetting of about 1,400 small-scale miners in all the mining districts of Ghana, allegedly the total population of all small-scale miners in the country.
He again pledged his commitment to see the end of the menace.
With this office in place, there's going to be constant, close, and effective monitoring and reporting of anti-galamsey activities so that the right thing is done all the time. This new phase will demonstrate our resilience and commitment to ensuring that our water bodies, lands and forests with their biodiversity are not destroyed. My own personal commitment to banishing the specter of galamsey remains resolute and immutable.
Well, President Akufo-Addo there charging the Interministerial Committee to use their office to monitor effectively all illegal mining activities to strengthen the fight against illegal mining. Now, the year 2017 saw renewed fight against illegal mining in Ghana, and government subsequently placed a 6-month ban on small-scale mining, which was later extended by 3 more months. Now, the ban will now be lifted by January 2018. And government in August formed the Joint Military and Police Task Force, codenamed Operation Vanguard, to enforce the ban on illegal mining. Now, joining us in the studio is the Director of Research Policy, Artisanal and Small-Scale Mining, Africa, Edward Kwesi Ekwoku. Good afternoon to you, sir. And thank you for your time this afternoon. Merry Christmas too.
Merry Christmas, many happy returns.
Right. Now, I'm sure you've conducted lots of researches. Yeah. What would be your assessment of Ghana's fight against illegal mining within the period?
Well, good afternoon to your viewers as well. And let me say that so far, I think that government's fight against the menace has been largely successful. Of course, with any program, there are challenges, but I want to believe that with time, some of those challenges will be overcome, especially with the setting up of the new secretariat. I believe that a lot can be done. But I think that if you want me to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say that maybe it's about 7.
7?
Yeah. Out of 10,
they've done
largely successful. I think that some of the challenges that from the civil society point of view we have realized in recent time has been that, as with any organization, familiarity creates some bit of a contempt. There has been some allegations that members of the Operation Vanguard are being compromised, certain quarters. That, for me, does not in any way suggest that their work has not been successful. By and large, they've been very successful, but I think that the strategy should be to change the team with time so that they don't become too familiar with the people on the ground. With any security institution, when they become too familiar, it becomes difficult for them to fight. So I think that that is one of the major challenges, but I think that they've been largely successful.
So you're proposing that maybe if it's a 3-month team,
exactly,
it changes the next 3 months?
The team should be changed constantly, periodically.
I'm sure your the 7 out of 10, the 3 left, one would be the reclaiming of lands that have been polluted.
And then the fact that...
How would you suggest it should be done now?
Well, I think that government has actually initiated a move. But I think that, for me, if you look at the amount of money that the state is going to spend on it, I believe that this thing can be given to some private institutions to work on. That would be much cheaper, because if some of us have looked at the figures that is being quoted in certain quarters and we feel that it is too much, we believe that something can be worked around whereby the miners themselves can be taxed somewhat. Most of these Chinese embassies, I believe, when government speaks to them, because there was a time, I remember very well, that the embassy came out publicly to say that they are even committed and ready to partner government to do some of this, because they believe, and it's a fact, that most of the Chinese nationals contributed some of these. Other nationals as well, some, Togolese, some Burkinabes, Nigerians and all that. I believe that government should have a strategy to have all these stakeholders on a round table and tell them, look, what is the way forward? How can you help us? I personally believe that we don't need to take this money out of the Ghanaian taxpayer.
I would still want to question your 7 over 10.
Yeah.
Because illegal mining is still persistent. For instance, the recent one with the Itiwa forest that came up, do you think that we can fight it by 2018, getting rid of illegal mining, putting an end to it?
Well, I believe that in any course, if you want to talk about success, you are not talking about 100%. That is not possible. It's
so 99.9.
But at least we should be, for me, the fact that we have achieved 70% per my rating shows that there's a better way forward. And I believe also that, you see, another challenge now is that a lot of these galamseys are working in the night. they are working the night. Some are working on water bodies. So you see that at a point we saw an improvement in the color of the water, but with time it seems it's coming back again. So I think that maybe new strategy needs to be put in place, especially the use of the drones that were mentioned some time back needs to be intensified, so that from afar the team can monitor the operations of these galamseys on the water bodies, because sometimes it's difficult getting onto the water body. But with the drones and maybe with some speed boats, some of these water bodies can be monitored, and with time I believe that they can work on.
Right, so new strategies needed to fight or end illegal mining in 2018. Edward, we are grateful for your time. Edward Ekwaku is the Director of Policy and Research at Artisanal and Small-Scale Mining African Network, talking about fighting against illegal mining. Now, away from that, the coalition of non-governmental organizations is in water and sanitation. CONIWAS is worried budgetary cuts for water and sanitation ministry in 2018 would affect efforts to keep citizenry healthy. Vice Chairman of CONIWAS, Atta Ahin, spoke on News at 10 Thursday with Bright Nana Anfo, and he first asked him whether Ghana can increase access to basic sanitation, which is lagging with a coverage rate of 15%.
We have always known our challenges. The difficulty has been how to address them. And for me, the major challenge to the sanitation fight has been the limited financing for sanitation. In fact, not only sanitation, but for water sanitation and hygiene. We commit very, very little to sanitation and expect to have, good results. It doesn't work that way. Unfortunately for us, in the 2018 budget, the budget for sanitation, unfortunately, went down again. And so if we are able to address the sanitation challenge in this country, then we should be able to commit a lot more resources and prioritize this sector as a very viable sector. Once you address your sanitation, I always say you address your health issues, you address your education issues and other issues. Every investment, every dollar investment in sanitation will give you at least $5 in returns. And so it baffles us why we have still not been able to commit more resources. This year, if you realize, we have had challenges with wash in schools, water sanitation in schools. There are many schools where people, lack access to basic sanitation, and people defecate in the open or use polythene bags. Of course, the ministry has taken certain steps which we think, will inure to the benefit of this country. If for nothing at all, the creation of the new Ministry for Sanitation and Water Resources is for us a very good thing. And then the launch of the National Sanitation Campaign by the President himself. We think that these, coupled with allocation of adequate resources, should be able to help us to take us away from the poor sanitation situation that we find ourselves. We are implementing what we call the community-led total sanitation, where you trigger the consciousness of citizens, and then on their own they take action to build sanitation facilities, for themselves. It takes time for them to respond. And because, communities will always use the excuse of no, funding.
This is Midday Live, and still to come this afternoon, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice Shraj clears Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta of all allegations of conflict of interest in the issuance of $2.5 billion bonds. And also on the foreign front is a new dawn for Liberia as the country awaits first democratic power transfer of power in 70 years after former football star George Weah is elected president. We return with more. This is Midday Live. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us on Midday Live. To some international news now, and the biggest news in Liberia. Former football star George Weah has been elected as Liberia's President Biya will succeed Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Africa's first elected female president in Liberia's first democratic handover in decades. Now, George Weah polled over 61% of valid votes against Vice President Boakai's 38%. White and David Agbe, Executive Director, Ghana Institute of Governance and International Relations expert, joins us on the line now to discuss matters arising in Liberia. Good afternoon to you, David, and thanks for your time.
Yes, good afternoon, Accra.
Now, you agree with me, Liberia, after years of war, still has challenges of access to potable water, electricity, creating opportunities for the teeming youth. Now, President-elect Weah has a huge responsibility on his shoulders. Tell me, how can he go about pleasing the youth who voted massively for him?
Yes, Nanakia, thank you so much. I think that all the issues that you just mentioned is a gospel truth, that Liberia has actually gone into, many kind of, crises, what we will call post-conflict, situations, and what we will also call post-conflict reconstruction. As far back 1993, 94, thereabout, that the West Africa sub-region, especially the we sent a mission there, ECOMOG there, to try to, bring in some kind of stability. So, I mean, they've gone through a lot. And so it is quite a reflection that George Apoonwa has actually won the elections for Liberia. And this is a period that we are going to see a clear transition from a democratic leader, from Johnson Ellen Sirleaf to George Apoonwa. And so it is quite a joyful moment for people of the West Africa sub-region and citizens of, Liberia, because the kind of crisis that they've gone through, it is quite, a lot that no country or many countries that have gone through post-conflict situations like that, it is quite that we need to really applaud them that now they are charting a good cause of going into a good political transition. But like you said, it is quite a huge and Herculean task for George Apoonwa, because now they are practicing democracy, but then democracy comes with its own, challenges, especially when your economy is not well, good enough. And somebody who used to be a footballer, I think that he has a number of things that he can do to be able to revitalize or revamp the economy of Liberia.
Now,
and
David,
so because of his international connections and all that, we do believe that maybe if he is able to organize people who have what it takes to be able to revamp the economy, it will be a very good, success for Liberia.
Right, David. Now, concerns were raised also during campaigning about the choice of his vice, who is Charles Taylor's former wife, Jewel Hort Taylor. Electorates did not look at this, but is there a possibility of the ex-president pulling some strings while he's in the UK jail? Tell us.
Yes, Nanakua, yes, it's true that they didn't look at the background of the former president's wife, Charles Taylor, and that tells you what anthropologists will say, that human beings are very complex in all circumstances. And when it comes to elections, you could realize that a lot of things, come into play, especially when we are analyzing what we call the political variables. You realize that psychologically, when it comes to elections, everybody's psyche is not that we will call a rational being, but then a lot of things come to play as to the campaign, messages, the demeanor, the characteristics of the presidential candidate as against his opponent, what the strategies that the opponent candidate is also doing. And I could say that George Apoonwa was quite phenomenal when you really assess his campaign message. As compared to Joseph Boakai, you could realize clearly that he doesn't have the energy, and the youth were not supporting him at all. They thought that he's not a kind of a good candidate that could be able to revamp the economy of Liberia. So a lot of things come into play when it comes to democratic elections, that people want to really assess the credibility of a presidential candidate. So some of us are not surprised at all, but the good news is that Liberia is starting a good course of political transition, where we hope that the post-construction or the post-conflict construction, and then coming into this phase of a good political transition, it could translate into a good political gain that will also necessitate that the country will also benefit economically.
Okay.
And so when you are assessing a country, you always look at the political gains, and then you come to the economic gains and the social and other legal gains. So we do understand all those things that Liberia is actually doing, and we hope that these votes will really translate into a good political and economic gain for the livelihood of the people of Liberia.
We are grateful for your time, David Agbe, who is the Executive Director of the Ghana Institute of Governance and also an international relations expert there, talking about issues bordering Liberia. We have sports next with Nana Kujafre. After this break, stay with us.
Good afternoon. Thanks very much for staying with us here on Midday Live. My name is Anako Jafre with the sports update. Let's get into the details now. Former Chelsea, Manchester City and AC Milan striker George Weah will be the next president of Liberia. Weah, who is 51, became the first non-European player to win the Ballon d'Or in 1995, just one of many achievements over a prolific 18-year professional career that ended in 2003. He entered politics after his retirement and had been serving as a senator in Liberia's parliament. His victory was announced by Liberia's National Elections Commission on Thursday. It said that with 98% of the ballots counted, Weah had won 61.5% of the vote. He will succeed Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Africa's first elected female president. She defeated Weah in elections in 2005, held shortly after the end of a brutal civil war. It's been a year to forget for the Black Stars again, from high hopes that the perennial underachievers will fix their regular Nations Cup. Two coaches who bottled it at several stages to a World Cup campaign to forget. The team had it all. Here we look back at the difficult year for the Black Stars. Every Nations Cup year begins with the hope that Ghana would end the long wait since 1982 for a Nations Cup title. Every Nations Cup year ends with a reflection of why it did not happen. The year began like most Nation Cup ones for Ghana. Apathy towards the tournament, then gradual belief as Ghana went through the group stages into the knockout stages that maybe this is the year, before it ended with the now customary semi-final defeat. It marked the end of Avram Grant as Black Stars boss after a 2.5-year period in charge, when he took Ghana to within 2 penalty kicks of Nations Cup glory before leaving to cheers of good riddance. He insists he is taking away only good memories.
There is a lot of good memories. There's a lot of good memories that I can take from the football, from the country, from the people around. I enjoyed very much to be here. It's a great country, great people. I don't say that there's no problems. If we speak about football, we was in one final, the second in 25 years, and then we reached the semi-final, which we wanted to reach the final. We deserve also to reach the final, but and to take the cup. But we didn't took it. It's hurt a lot, but this is football, what we can do.
By the time Grant left, Ghana's World Cup hopes were almost in tatters. The team had 1 point from a possible 6. And when Kwesi Appiah was appointed, there was the unwillingness to tie in qualification as a definite goal. Apia's second coming started with a superb 5-star performance against Ethiopia, when the goals flowed from every direction and new players flourished, whilst established stars watched from the bench. It suggested that the start of something special, but the following month he reversed to the type of template lineups Grant was mocked for. The result of that was a 1-1 draw against Congo. It meant 4 points dropped at home in World Cup qualifying, and effectively the end of the road to the huge disappointment of Ghana captain Asamoah Gyan that night.
I've been there before, talking about this World Cup stage. It's in my blood right now, and then missing the World Cup this year is very, very difficult, personally, because although we've got young players in the team right now who haven't experienced it, but I feel it more.
If that game exposed Apia's weaknesses, he has used that period after that to try and establish his authority. He has called up new players who have continued to thrive and chopped off established names like the Ayew brothers in a clear disagreement over their decision not to travel to Brazzaville. Apia says part of his desire in 2017 was to get as many players as possible into a core team.
This year, 2017, I keep inviting about 4 or 5 players, at a go per match, and the essence of it was to build the team towards 2019. And for that reason, you start now, and then next year, when you have a core of your team, you try to trim the number down.
Talent or not, questions will remain about Apia, and that those convinced that the Black Stars this year under his leadership provided further evidence that this is a job slightly above his competence grade.
Me, Kwesi Apia has never inspired me in the sense that he can win a championship against a world-class side. His record, I think, shows it. Anytime he gets beyond the group stages, round of 16, enters the quarter, semi, and the final stages of tournaments, that is where he starts having problems. Tactically, I think that he's still not able to beat the very best at what he does. After 30-something years, what Ghana needs is somebody who is going to give us the trophy. And that is the problem I've had with him. I mean, he's an excellent coach, but I don't think he has that nerve and the gravitas to win us a trophy at this moment. Of course, I would like to be pleasantly surprised in 2019 if we should make it AFCON.
Apia hopes that in 2018, he can answer many of those questions asked about him. There is a Nations Cup to qualify for, but that won't score him any marks. Ultimately, he may be judged by how he deals with the nagging problems of personnel feuds and egos that have for so long threatened to undermine his leadership of the side.
The most important thing, I being the coach, I need to make sure I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing what I think can benefit the nation. So I'm not looking at why did you call this, why did you didn't you invite this. If we are to listen to what everybody is saying, then we'll be inviting about 100 people.
Whichever way it goes, Apia will hope his side don't look anything remotely close to 2017 when they just didn't, to quote a cliche, come to the party. Starman Christian Achu hopes that changes going forward.
It's been a difficult year for the Blasters of Ghana. We couldn't qualify for the World Cup, and in the African Cup that we played before, we couldn't reach the final. Also trying to encourage ourselves that we work hard for the future and prepare for the next African Cup.
And that's all the sports here on Midday Live. My name is Nanako Jaffrey. Good afternoon.
Why, thank you, Nanako Jaffrey. Up next is some entertainment news. And on entertainment this afternoon, Ghana international footballer Kevin Prince Boateng is reported to be working on his maiden music album, which is likely to be ready next year. The midfielder shared a picture of himself busily singing in a music studio on social media platform Instagram. Now, Kevin Prince Boateng captioned his post soon my album will drop, hinting he might soon venture into doing music. We're also waiting for Kevin to drop that tune. But from us here, that would do for Midday Live. Looking at stories gone by this afternoon, 3 persons arrested at Suhum, Abenabo for allegedly possessing dry leaves suspected to be Indian hemp. Also, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice Shraj clears Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta of allegations of conflict of interest in the issuance of $2.5 billion bonds. And a coalition of non-governmental organizations in water and sanitation expressed worry budgetary cuts for water and sanitation ministry in 2018 would affect efforts to keep citizenry healthy. And also on the international news, a new dawn for Liberia as the country awaits first democratic power transfer of power in 70 years after former football star George Weah is elected president. That will do. There's more on our website, 3news.com. That's it for Midday Live. My name is Nanekia Mensa Brampa. Do enjoy your lunch. Good afternoon.